ultimately we're looking at the role of art in medical science specifically, in the world of medical care and healing. So we're going somewhere very specific with it, but first we want to look at art and science, and what are they?
Yeah. I honestly started work, was so frustrated when I was sort of undergraduate with that question, that here's how, I saw a definition which I was like, I'm going to use that one, which it was Hollis Frampton in conversation with Carl Andre. He said, if one person calls something art besides the artist, then it's art.
Then it's art.
So I was like, all right, that's good, that we don't have to think about it anymore. But then, what do you think about? Well, then you have to think about, well, is it interesting art? Is it good art? Is it, is it original art? Is it, all those other beautiful art? So then it's like, what does it do rather than what it is, kind of thing. So I thought that kind of gets around that ontological issue.
I have a very simple way. I say if art has to move you. That's kind of my personal definition.
Great, yeah.
Good, bad, you have to be in some way affected by it. So, for me, looking at that table on that's not moving me. It might move someone else, and for them, that is art. And so I think it's similar in a way to what you said about the being moved by one person besides the artist, the maker. But I think it is so subjective.
Yeah.
But I think looking at the question is really important, I think. And then science. I mean, it's so interesting that we start with Aristotle, and he's, when you didn't question that. Everything is questioned now, and you need to question.
Well, I was going to say, then does that extrapolate to, is science if one other person thinks it's science? So then you extrapolate out, and it's, you start questioning, like, where are those boundaries?
Yeah, I thought also, like, maybe we need some definitions, but maybe not. But I always love, I don't even know if this is relevant in science, but I remember this term, sort of applied science, and then what would the opposite be? Sort of a pure science. So with a pure science, it's like kind of posing questions which have absolutely no application in mind. It's just like posing very abstract questions and then kind of, and then maybe, down the hall, some people are like, wow, we could really make an awesome light bulb, or whatever. But I think the same thing you can sort of see in art, and there's different emphasis. But like some historical periods, people are really just like asking the question, what is art, and just really opening it up. And they have no sense of like what it could do.
Mm-hmm.
But then it gets kind of established, and then that's where like awesome design comes in. Steve Jobs is an artist, but he stole from everywhere, So he was like the applied guy. So he takes like that pure art and then applies it. But we don't use those terms. I don't know how useful they are, but because it almost sounds pejorative, like pure versus applied. But,
Well, and that is a question. How useful is it? But I think even asking the question gets you going somewhere.
Yeah. It's amazing, I think, to see that, art can be used in a medical context to do so much healing with that. I mean, that's what they say also about so much public art. I mean, that, I guess it's a little less quantifiable, but that so often public art is meant to heal or start a conversation or continue a conversation or deal with these big issues.
Well, I just have to say one thing. When you talk about the siphonophore, is that what they're called? So I swim. I do open water swimming daily, actually throughout the year. And last year, for the first time, we came in contact with ASaP. I think is a siphonophore also. Which is the most amazing thing in the world to swim through these things.
Wow.
It feels like you're getting a loofah treatment as your arm enters. I mean, it's pretty disgusting if you think about it, because they're just everywhere and you're kind of swimming through it. Then you see them, and they're really incredibly fascinating. So you see these, spiraling creatures that come apart easily. I guess some are male. I mean, one reproduces as a male, one as a female. I think they go back and forth. But as it relates to art, I mean, you're swimming. And today, for instance, I swim in thick jellyfish. I mean, they're not the stinging jellyfish. They're the moon jellies or comb jellies. But as you're swimming through it, you're thinking this is disgusting, and then you kind of go, wow, this is kind of cool. And then, but this whole concept of the healing aspect of seeing kind of nature underwater. So you're going from the aesthetic of it to the healing aspect of it, and it's just a crazy confluence of all of that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But they're crazy, those siphonophores.
I was just thinking about, in terms of, not necessarily medicine, but like, how can people become like the installation for 9/11 when you talked about the rescue worker, and how for some people that could have been a healing process to witness that art, and how that technically no one can describe that, or but just the ability of the art as a healer.
Yeah. I think in a way it was a very simple mechanism because it was just, I mean, New York is loud and crazy and, kinetic. But when it goes up, like people just stop and then they have a place to focus on. And then it's just really like, this kind of mindful focus and just time. And then they go on top of this, right? It really is that.
And it's every year. Is it funded?
Yeah, we had to, we sort of fundraise and now it's, it's really boring stuff, but now it's part of another organization, the Memorial Museum is down there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But what a
So-
symbol of hope. I mean, I could just viewing it, on the screen, I can imagine being there and that vision of light ascending. It's pretty powerful.
Arts and water.
Yeah.
To kind of change the topic a little bit, what you said at the beginning about kind of faking being an engineer, do you think it's possible for engineers to fake being artists in the same way that...
Yeah, I think, let's say I fake being an engineer and it works. Then I'm like, well, I don't have the credentials, but it works, and that's what I wanted to do. So if you're an engineer and you fake being an artist, and then like your art is shown and people love it, and it's in the world of art, then you're like an artist.
Yeah, so that's what I was wondering, would like, vice versa, you would say like, if people are liking your art, makes someone an artist, would you say that would make you an engineer? Then? You make something and it works and it's your design.
Yeah, I guess it does. But maybe it's like the problem with credentialing. And if I couldn't probably get insurance for it. But I like thinking that way just because it's more empowering. And then it's sort of like those Italian guys, like, why do you need to be an electrical engineer to do this stuff? Like, let's try to, make it sort of more accessible or open up the community so that people really think that they don't have to have those degrees to do it. So it's cool.
There's a industrial designer, a Dutch industrial designer, Jan, maybe somebody here knows him. He's with a group called, I think, Stroop, that really cool design group in Holland. He has a great quote which says, "I am best at what I can't do." And so to this point where, if you are not an engineer, so, this, for some people that would just shut you down and just say, well, I'm not even going to try it. But what do you have to lose? And then, so you allow yourself that freedom.
Yeah. It's funny because they say like in the astronomy community, so much of that is self-taught kind of hobby astronomers discovering stuff. So other fields you can't do it. I guess it'd be nice to have, if you're an MD, like that might be nice to see the degree in the wall.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I have. So the only reason why you would say you don't consider yourself quote unquote a scientist would be because you don't have a degree in engineering.
A degree in science. Maybe. But then you say,
but like to me,
all the time, right?
to me, just seeing all your work and seeing the process you put into it, I would say Paul is a scientist. He's like an engineer. He makes these machines that work using sophisticated systems that I have no idea how they work. So that's the only, I find that interesting that you don't necessarily think of yourself as a scientist, but like others can.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's collapsing too. Because I mean, I think about all these great, like, you know, this phenomenon of the maker movement. They have a magazine and they have maker fairs, but that really seems to be opening it up again. Like, who cares, like, what your education is and what your credentials are? Like, they're making interesting stuff. But then, you know, obviously, there's some people that are really good at it, and often they come from MIT or something. But you know, I don't even know if they have to say what they are. They're making stuff. It's pretty interesting.
Then again, with contemporary education, the definition of engineer is shifting, and there's this miracle little computer called the Kano that you build yourself, and it uses a program like Scratch to allow 5-year-olds to code, and you have these kids age making video games, which is pretty amazing.
And they call themselves engineers.
Some of them
Yes,
So you can.
Coders. Yeah, maybe it is just, I mean, I just like it lowering the bar and empowering people.
But also that method that you went through, I mean, that's a really interesting thing to see that really they're very, very similar.
Yeah.
The artistic method and the scientific method.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be repeatable, but it doesn't take a whole lot of shift to make it your own also. And to make a small change to make it a huge, have a very